Okay. I'm Ben, alcoholic. And as Nick pointed out, I think I got 6, 7 hours notice on this. And this is my first time speaking at a AA meeting. So I've been to some speaker meetings, so I kind of know the format. Take that for what it's worth. So I'll just stick with the kind of traditional format of what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. Um, I've also been listening to a lot of Sandy Beach tapes recently, so maybe some copying or pulling from those. So what it was like, let me set a timer. Oh, you have a timer for me? Okay. So what it was like, grew up in a pretty tumultuous household growing up. Mom and dad got married after 3 weeks of knowing each other, got divorced after a year after I was born. And moved to Seattle with mom. Dad stayed in Hawaii where they met. And, you know, she got remarried and had a good stepdad and a brother, a half brother. But I was always a nervous kid, very shy, people pleasing. My mom had a personality disorder that made it so you had to be very careful about what you did, how you behaved. And I was kind of the chosen one for her, the good boy that just did exactly what she wanted me to do. And I just always felt very uncomfortable. I mean, I remember my daughter's 5 now, and when I was 5, standing at the bottom of like kids' driveways, so nervous about wanting to meet them, but being too scared to actually put myself out there. And that was the way it was until through middle school, and got good grades, went to got to go to a good high school, and then my friends and I found alcohol, and we started out with my friends' parents vodka in the basement, drink the vodka, fill it full of water, get found out type of thing. But then went to parties. All of a sudden, it was like, whoa, I can actually talk to women. I can actually talk to girls that I think are attractive, and I can actually meet new friends. And all of a sudden, the cool guys in school are actually talking to me. And it, as we say, alcohol was not the problem for me at that time. It was the solution to my problem, all my problems. And then fast forward up to college and joined a fraternity. And actually, even before the fraternity, I was rushing to fraternity because at UW, I went to UW and I was coming from Tacoma. And during rush, you go up during like your last semester of high school in a way. And all of a sudden, you're like meeting all these people. And like my focus was like, I want to find the best parties. I don't care about anything else about this fraternity. The best parties is the qualifier for where I'm going to sign my name to live. And I found that. I found a group of people, some of them like me, some of them more tame, but mostly like me. And it just, for a while, it was just a good time. I'll be honest. Like, the grades went down, but they didn't go down catastrophically. And, I was always surrounding myself with the hardest partiers, right? So it's always easy to be like, I'm fine because all these other guys are doing it with me. So the guy that's drinking, a whole half gallon during the day, you're like, hey, that's what we're doing. That's the crew I'm with. And so I never really felt like my drinking was abnormal, and that lasted through, went to grad school as well. And it was in grad school where I was like, okay, all of a sudden I'm drinking. I had a roommate at the time, and I remember I'd drink, well, when we weren't going to the bars, which was probably 6 nights a week. The other night I had to have a few beers just to fall asleep type thing. And I was like, this is kind of weird. And then I got out of school, moved back to Seattle, got a job, and then all of a sudden, I remember this vividly. I took the bus into downtown from Renton in my apartment, and I got off the parking ride to get back my car, and I couldn't make it home. I was like, I need to stop and get an IPA at the mini mart, and I just drank that in my car on the way home, and that's kind of weird. And then all of a sudden, when my wife wasn't home from work, I'd run down to the grocery store next door to her apartment and grab a 6-pack and try to drink that before she got home. And it just kind of just escalated from there. All of a sudden, it was like every single night hiding, and this is about 5 or 6 years down the road, I was like getting really demoralized. I was like, I'm honestly suicidal. Like I could not figure it out. Like, why am I drinking in my car on the way to work now? And why am I drinking at lunch when my legal assistant comes to my office? Like, you smell like beer. And I was like, it just kind of just kept getting worse and worse. I could not figure it out. So I remember seeing a therapist because of the suicidal thoughts and anxiety and depression. And immediately the therapist was like, how much are you drinking? And then I counted it out, and I think it was, I don't remember what it was at that time. It was probably like 75 drinks a week or something like that. And the therapist was like, that's your problem. And I was like, no, that's not my problem. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I've come into you because I want to, I'm having weird thoughts and I'm not happy and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't take that advice. And I remember one time my wife, we had this rental house in Seward Park, and I had this basement, unfinished basement, and I had hit all my empties down there, like 100, probably 22-ounce bottles of like IPA. This is what I was a big IPA guy. I don't know why. That's my drink. And always like the highest. I went to the grocery store and I'd find like what's 8.5% or higher. And otherwise, if they didn't have 8.5% or higher, I was going somewhere else. And anyway, she came downstairs to do laundry in this unfinished basement, and it was in this corner. She never really went in the corner. And then one day she went there. She's like, why are there all these beer bottles down here? I was like, oh shit. And I was like, okay, I'll go to AA. I'll figure it out. I walked into the Capitol Hill meeting one afternoon, and some guy was really aggressive and trying to help me, and I was not really wanting to help at the time. Went to one other meeting drunk and was out for a couple more years. And then I actually got caught by my mom one time coming home from work. I was drinking on the way home, and she was randomly at our house, another rental house we're in. And I got confronted and pretty much like be like, hey, we see you pulling the vodka at Thanksgiving in the closet. We see all this shit. Like, this is, you're killing yourself. What are you doing? And so actually I got sober for a year and a half over on the east side, got plugged in the program, went to a lot of meetings, never really did the steps, never really felt like I went to like a Catholic high school, went to church as a kid, didn't think I needed, like, I felt like I knew what the God thing was, so the higher power thing was, never really delved into that. So I never made it past step 3. And we ended up buying a house in Seattle on the other side of the lake, stopped going to meetings, and got this thought in my head, 18 months sober, that it'd be a good idea to buy a 6-pack on the way to go make returns at REI up in Linwood. And sure enough, like thinking like that was like, hey, I'm fine, I can drink. And it's just like, who decides to drink in their car on the way to make returns is like their kind of entry point to like, I'm a normal drinker, right? I got pulled over actually on the way up to Linwood, looking at my phone for directions, and luckily the cop didn't smell all the empties were in my center console. It was crazy. Anyway, so after that, I was out. It was like 5-10 times worse. I could not get a hold of it. I had a kid in 2020. Remember the night she got from the hospital, I immediately went to our wine fridge and started pulling bottles out and drinking upstairs. My wife was downstairs taking care of her. And I would kind of dabble with meetings here and there. And I met this guy, his name's Jeff, and he just kind of lashed onto me in a way that was like non-invasive. It was kind of just, hey, I'm here. When you're ready, I'm here. And he called every 3 or 4 months, and I'd be drunk most of the time when he called, lie and say I wasn't. And then one day, I look back now and it's my higher power talking to me. He said something in a way that really opened my eyes to what the fuck I was doing or what I was doing. It was like, yeah, you continue to do what you're doing. You can, keep, drinking and driving your car with your 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old at a time and run, hurt her, kill somebody in a crosswalk. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I don't know, for some reason, I heard him that day. And that was August 2nd, 2022. And he had me chair a meeting the next morning. I was like, dude, I'm not even like 24 hours sober. He's like, perfect. So I chaired that meeting, and I feel like that was the first time I did an honest step one, and I think that the step one is the only one you really have to do perfectly. And since then, it's just been, it's a whole other life. I mean, it took a while. Like it was definitely like, I remember I have journals and I've made notes in my phone those first few days and weeks of what it felt like at the time to kind of remember. And I look back on those still, and it just it was complete and utter demoralization. And now the promises are true if I'm working the program every day. And some days are better than others. But I was listening to Sandy Beach this week actually, and he said something about you can walk into a room and you can tell who's putting first things first. And that was a reminder to me of like the good times in sobriety for me are when I'm putting first things first. My sobriety, my relationship with my higher power. When I'm not drinking and I'm not doing that, life is still pretty good. It is definitely, but when I'm actually focused on my sobriety, my recovery, my program, working with others, saying yes to speaker engagements on 7 hours notice, it's just a whole nother level of like serenity. It's not just like, it focuses me in like what is actually important in my life. And it's my relationship with my higher power is totally different than what I thought it would be. I thought it was like the whole Christian God thing that I grew up with. For me, it's complete acceptance. It's complete trust that I'm not in control. I'm not the actor controlling the play, as they say in the big book. And when I am actually plugged in and doing the work, it's just night and day. And my family sees it, my coworkers see it, my friends see it. I'm extremely, extremely blessed. And I have 2 kids, so it's even harder for me at this point with the second kid now to really put first things first. But now that he's kind of stabilized as a year old finally, out of the nightmare phase, it's a good reminder. I'm glad Nick texted me this morning to come in and be of service and be plugged in. So I think that's all I really got.